Let's turn our attention to the situation in Zimbabwe now. This week, a prominent journalist who was critical of the government, Hopewell Chin'ono, was denied bail for a third time. Now, Chin'ono has been detained for more than a month on charges of inciting public violence. Well, the suppression of dissent and reports of human rights abuses in Zimbabwe have sparked widespread condemnation around the world. Dozens of NGOs, lawyers and diplomats have spoken out, and Zimbabwe's neighbours, including South Africa, have been accused of being quiet. Now, we were hoping to speak to a Zimbabwean opposition senator. We'll see if he can join us. In the meantime, we're joined via Zoom. Thank you very much. The leader of One South Africa movement, Mmusi Maimane. Mr. Maimane, what are you hearing? Over the past week alone, we're hearing reports that lawyers representing those who were detained themselves being arrested, things like that, even assaults. What are you hearing?
Good evening, and good evening to fellow Africans. Really, the reports there have become to a point where if you stand in any way to oppose the government, there have already been acts where further, as you have affirmed, lawyers, activists, we've seen other people who simply are just organizing peaceful protests just being arrested. And much of it stems from two failed issues. The first is that obviously as South Africa sent its own envoy there, and when we got there, South Africa got there, it became a case of not wanting to see the opposition, which meant that naturally people felt that even that effort was partisan. And then the second is when the President Emmerson Mnangagwa already started to talk about how he can threaten his own people. And that, to me, is the type of situation we're seeing in Zimbabwe. And then lastly, the international community of Zimbabweans themselves have reached out to us saying that some of them are not allowed to go back home. Some of them are not allowed to voice their opinion against the government. This is ultimately a form of dictatorship that is starting to suppress the rights of citizens in Zimbabwe.
Yeah. And you are concerned about the South African response. So 2 envoys were sent, and any explanation that meets your requirements as to why they didn't speak to the opposition, which is fragmented as we know at the moment?
Respectfully so, but there are certainly some key individuals there. I know that Nelson Chamisa was very open to having a meeting with the South African envoys that were there. And I know as a fact of the matter, even when we've been called upon, we've always called to say the best way Zimbabweans can resolve this particular situation is if there's a proper conversation between those in the opposition and in the government. President Mnangagwa cannot hold the right to tell people that who they can meet with or not. If South Africa is going to play and simply bow at the knee of a very oppressive system, as we're seeing in Zimbabwe, it means that the situation in Zimbabwe is going to be chronic. The next only other situation that we can really proceed is, as per the Zimbabwean constitution, allow for an interim government in place so we can stabilize until the next elections. But we carry on at this rate. Truly, the challenge of Zimbabwe will fast become a regional challenge in the SADC region. And I would ask that President Ramaphosa must be able to take much stronger action, but also the partnership in Southern Africa must also be willing to intervene.
Yeah. Well, we have this history of quiet diplomacy. What would you like from President Ramaphosa as South Africa's leader and head of the AU at the moment?
Yeah, I think, if President Ramaphosa is very serious about this, I would urge that him and the International Relations Minister go there, meet with both parts of the discussion, and that furthermore, even if there are resolutions that are taken from there, South Africa must make a decision about the interim government that must be set up. That must be the first thing, and a resolution of the African Union and SADC. Secondly, I think that South Africa has got resources, at least, that are invested in Zimbabwe, and we need to think harder about making sure that hospital care is still maintained there and educational facilities are still open, because what is firstly becoming a political problem is progressing to become an economic and a healthcare one. So it is simply, you cannot watch Zimbabwe collapse in front of your lives. It feels, and we continue the message that Zimbabweans' lives don't matter. Now, they may not matter to the Zimbabwean government, but certainly we can't allow them not to matter to the South African government.
Finally, and very quickly, I mean, there is a sense of solidarity amongst leaders in Southern Africa, but is this a situation where that's maybe going too far?
I think the solidarity is misplaced. The solidarity is amongst liberation movements. So ZANU-PF is very well aligned with the ANC. And you find SWAPO and other liberation movements. But it cannot be that the relationship between liberation movements trumps constitutionality of both Zimbabwe and South Africa. We're a sovereign state, and our interest must be in the interest of the region and of the continent. Therefore, I would urge more than anything that those ties are false. And if South Africa is serious about its foreign policy based on human rights, based on trade, this is the time to act. And ECOWAS as a region taught us how South Africa must act now.
All right, thank you very much. That was leader of the One South Africa movement, Mmusi Maimane, and we have been joined on that Zoom call by Senator Douglas Mwonzora, who is the Secretary General of the opposition MDC party. Mr. Mwonzora, thank you very much for being with us. Please tell us your experience. We know Hopewell Chin'ono being denied bail again. He, of course, has become a prominent figure in this fight for just freedom of speech. He was according to all the evidence, criticizing the Zimbabwean government. Lawyers are not allowed to meet their clients. We know some opposition members also arrested. What's happening on the ground?
Well, we believe as a party that whenever anybody is arrested, they must be dealt with fairly and in accordance with the law. In terms of our constitution, the accused persons have certain rights that are guaranteed in terms of the constitution: the right to legal representation, the right to dignified treatment, the right to access to their family, and so on. And we think that the treatment where these people are denied basic rights is totally unacceptable. I think that the government, in this instance, the detention is uncalled for.
So how is this situation allowed to happen? Talk to us about the independence of the judiciary. Talk to us about the Justice Minister, who said that he can't be involved. It's the police doing the arrests, executive not involved. How is this situation allowed to occur where someone like Hopewell Chin'ono keeps on being denied bail and denied privacy to meet with lawyers, sometimes access to lawyers as well?
Well, I'm sorry that I'm not very privy to what is going on in the actual courtroom itself, but I can tell you that under Zimbabwean law, you can only be denied bail on 3 grounds. First, that you will commit similar offenses. Second, that you are likely to abscond. And thirdly, that you will interfere with witnesses. I do not think that these apply in this case. But what is important to me as a constitution maker, what is important to me as a human rights person and as a politician in my country, is the treatment of an accused person. They must be treated with dignity. They must be treated in accordance with the law. And the law is very clear. The Constitution of Zimbabwe is very, very clear.
What is the MDC-T doing right now in Zimbabwe? And are you also speaking to South Africa, whose envoys did not meet with any opposition leaders?
Well, first, I am the Secretary General of the MDC-T, and I did raise this issue in the Senate. I took the ministers took to task in the Senate in the very last sitting of the Senate. And I was assured that these people were going to be treated in accordance with the law, that it was not, the arrest was not a cover-up and so on, because I raised the issue that why were they, what was the coincidence that they were being arrested after talking about corruption? Was there a cover-up that was going on? And the ministers assured me that there was no such cover-up. But what is going on?
And is that good enough for you?
The lawyers know better. Sorry?
Is that good enough for you?
Well, first of all, when they said it, I thought that it would be backed by concrete action that is on the ground. I've seen no evidence of that. No, it was not good enough.
Finally, I mean, there's MDC and there's MDC-T right now. There are legal battles over the leadership of the main opposition. How are you feeling as opposition parties? Is this not time to unite, put your differences aside? Reports that the Zimbabwean government also trying to divide the opposition and use smaller factions, trying to co-opt them as well.
Well, first of all, we must be very careful to deal with propaganda there. First, we, as the MDC-T, want the unity of the opposition. We want to take over governmental power through peaceful, democratic, and constitutional means, and govern differently, and change the lives of the Zimbabwean people for the better. There are legal battles that have to do with one group refusing to follow a decision of the Supreme Court of Zimbabwe. We think that the decision must be followed and that we must go to extraordinary Congress and put the leadership question behind us and prepare for the 2023 election. So what is happening? There are legal battles. The courts are seized with those matters. We have succeeded in the courts. We have succeeded in Parliament. And so on. So the most important thing about constitutionalism is that the constitution of the land must be followed, the constitution of the party must be followed, the decisions of the courts must be followed in our respectful view.
But is the leadership battle right now not distracting opposition members who should be fighting for Zimbabweans right now?
Yes, I do admit that definitely it is distracting a lot of progress. What we must be doing right now is we must be in the struggle for electoral reforms, struggle for ending the Zimbabwean crisis. And as you know, the Zimbabwean crisis is multifaceted. There is an economic crisis, the crisis of poverty, governance crisis, the crisis of contested legitimacy. The human rights issues are creeping up every now and then. So Zimbabwe is not in a normal state. And we must now be working towards resolving this leadership, this crisis in our country. Whatever we do must be guided by what is in the best interest of the Zimbabwean people. As the MDC-T, we are a social democratic party, and we adhere to the values of freedom, justice, equality, solidarity, constitutionalism, and the rule of law. We are Pan-Africanists. We believe in African solutions to African problems. That is why we welcome the decision by the South African government to send an envoy to Zimbabwe to try to find out what is wrong in Zimbabwe. We hope that we'll be able to meet these people.
All right. Thank you very much for your time tonight. That was Senator Douglas Mwonzora, who is the Secretary General of the MDC-T party. And the visuals we were using there were file visuals of Zimbabwean events.